T-Dog, J-Boy, and me, I'm Lugs. Our pride and joy is pumping our mugs. Be careful, kids, it could get rough. We're flipping our lids on sports and other stuff.
Welcome to Sport Weasel Central. I'm Lux.
I'm J-Boy.
And I'm T-Dog.
Hey, fellas, the boss gave us a bigger budget, for this fiscal year, including a jokester machine. Just take a listen to this.
Why did the watch go on vacation? To unwind.
To unwind. So that's the word of the day is unwind, but okay, let's move on. NFL Week 5 is in the books. Here are some headlines. A great game in London with the undefeated Vikings, and the Jets, no, they just kind of look bad. Josh Allen takes a really hard hit, and the Bengals can't get a break. Plus, college-wise, and we'll let Lugs have this one, Vanderbilt pulls off the biggest upset in school history. Who saw that coming? And T-Dog, your Hoosiers remain undefeated. Lugs, how are you? Let's hear that potpourri of topics there. Where do you want to start?
Oh, we can start with the Vikings Jets. Anytime I can see Aaron Rodgers grimace and whine, it's a good day. I will have to say, though, it wasn't a good game for Sam Darnold, but they had a place kicker. I think his name's Will Reichard. Man, he made those 3 field goals that made the difference. So, but it was a little early, but it was kind of nice, have a little OJ watch part of that game.
A little mimosa. A little Bloody Mary, hair of the dog.
Might have had a little tincture in there. But that was a good way to start off Sunday. How about you, dog?
Yeah, no, I guess it's going with that game. Just Sam Darnold definitely had his worst game as a Vikings, but I mean it's okay for that to happen. That was the best defense he's faced this year, and Aaron Jones goes out relatively early in the game with a hip pointer, so he is again. I think he is a big part of what's been different offensively this year that has helped kind of elevate them to another level offensively. So that was a big bust for them to some extent, but the defense keeps coming through. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, sure, he threw for 244 yards, but he averaged 4.5 yards per pass, which is not great. And he was definitely flustered primarily the whole game. That's 2 games back to back where he's faced a great pass rush, and the Denver Broncos and Minnesota Vikings, and they patched together this offensive line in free agency this year. They made some draft picks, but still it's not working offensively, and just I don't understand how they can't get Breece Hall going, considering how talented he is. Why don't they get him in space and try to create more for him? I don't know, but the Minnesota Vikings, from last week where they were, they kind of boat raced Green Bay with just an offensive assault. In this game where it was kind of a defensive mindset. Again, this is why the Vikings are 5-0 and one of the better teams in the league is they can win different types of matchups, and that's usually a good quality for a team that's legitimately competing for a title.
Question for you guys. So Aaron Rodgers got sacked again 5 times this week, 5 times last week, got hit 14 times in both games. Lugs, can he last? He's going to be 41. Jeez.
That's a pounding to take. I think the outcome of this game is more impetus for them to try to get Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Okay.
I just think that Rodgers is going to say, I need more help here. I mean, Wilson is a good receiver, but Alan Lazard, I think, what did he have, 3 drops? It's I don't know how you can base a career on something where the goal is to keep it in your hands and it's on the ground. It just makes me crazy to watch. But like I say, I love to see Aaron Rodgers pucker up. It's a wine job. So
He certainly shows his emotion. So can the Vikings maintain this momentum, you think, T-Dog, and keep it going? And tough schedule ahead, but, man, 5-0.
I definitely think they're definitely I shouldn't be surprised they say this. They should be a team that's in playoff contention. Their next couple of games. I mean, they play Detroit at home, which will be a tough one. But then after that, I mean, they should be favored against Los Angeles, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Chicago, Arizona, Atlanta. So I mean, that's the next few games. I mean, there's only one game. I think Detroit, and maybe even since it's at home for them, maybe it'll be a pick 'em. But yeah, I mean, through week 7 through 14, they should be favored in pretty much all those games except for one. So yeah, I think they should be able to maintain. And even though some of those teams have some talent, I just think the Vikings are congealing on both sides of the ball. Like for the most part, under Kevin O'Connell, they've had a good offense and they've had a very feisty defense under Brian Flores dialing stuff up. But now he has the personnel to go with his scheme. And similarly, I think Kevin O'Connell, I think the offense has become more robust, and particularly when they get T.J. Hockenson back, if he's close to form, I don't expect him to be 100% coming off of his injury, but if they can get him kind of going, I think the Minnesota should be able to maintain.
Fantastic. All right, T-Dog, Lugs, want to throw this at you. Bengals and Ravens. That was a tremendous ball game. Joe Burrow throws 5 touchdown passes. I think that's the most he's ever thrown. But Lamar has a play that I've never seen before, maybe like street ball, where he looks like he's going down multiple times and finds an open man in the end zone. What did you think of that?
Oh, that's crazy. That was crazy. Yeah, that was lively. I think the tight end. That
likely, yeah.
It's Lamar being Lamar. It was it was like watching a dance almost. But man, Cincinnati, even after all that, you still can't win the game. That's got to hurt. I mean, yeah, it's a long season, but it's going to be a longer season if they don't win something here. I mean, one game doesn't count. You just got to go. So it was fun. It was fun to watch as just a spectator.
Kind of going with you. Yes, the play that put them down only by 3 points, 35-38. The touchdown pass to Likely. Yeah, he fumbled the snap, and then he picked it up, and then he ran to the sideline.
Yep.
He stiff-armed Sam Hubbard, who, I feel bad for him because that play is going to be played the most. Sam Hubbard played really well in this game, and that's what he's going to be remembered for, is getting stiff-armed by Lamar, who he probably outweighs by at least 100 pounds. And just the arm strength he had to throw it back across his body when he was falling out of bounds and being able to sense Likely, because you could tell it was a scramble drill because Likely was in the corner, and then he saw that when Lamar was scrambling, he cut back across to the middle. And the Bengals, they got B.J. Hill back. They got Chris Jenkins Jr. back. And they actually were able to contain the run really well throughout the whole game. I know Derrick Henry ended up with 92 yards, but one was his 51-yard rush in the overtime to set it up. And Lamar showed, again, kind of what we've talked about for a long time. Last few games, he used his legs, but, if you need him to throw the ball, he threw for 348 yards, 4 TDs. He was spreading the ball around, too, to Kohler, his third tight end. Likely had 2 TD passes. Bateman had a TD pass. So, again, Lamar can pretty much do it all, and that's why he's so dangerous, is they can shift their offense so dramatically from week to week, where Buffalo, they know they can't stop the run, so they're just going to pound them relentlessly. And Bengals, who had been kind of a running sieve this week, I said, credit to them. They were able to turn that around, but they weren't able to contain Lamar's passing. And kind of like what J-Boy pointed out, I feel for Joe Burrow. I know I'm part of his fan club, but that costly mistake in regulation where he threw that interception to Humphrey, they were in field goal range, and they even an opportunity in OT to kick the field goal, and McPherson misses. And again, I know Luggs pointed this out, but I will say this: as well as this offense is humming, particularly these last 3 weeks, and with Chase Higgins and Chase really turning it on, I still feel at 1-4 they have a shot at the 7 seed. Obviously, the division's I think gone at this point, but I still feel that if their line kind of congeals on defense, like it kind of showed elements of today, I think they can sneak in because I think the AFC is a lot more topsy-turvy than what we thought going into it this year. I don't think there's as many good teams as we thought. So,
Luggs, can the Bengals dig out of this hole? I mean, I guess I don't know what 5 games out of 17 is. That a third of the season roughly? We are not quite, maybe.
Yeah,
28%. I don't know what it is. Can they
still
dig out?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, here's the next few opponents. They play the Giants. They play the Browns. They play the Eagles. I mean, Eagles, I know is a toss-up but Eagles have been kind of a mess. And then they play the Raiders, Ravens, Chargers. I mean, maybe we'll get to talking about the Steelers. I mean, I don't feel like I'm worried about them not being able to beat the Steelers. Cowboys are kind of a mess. Titans, Browns, Broncos, Steelers. So I'm not – I know it's like to be fair, realistically they should. But if this offense is able to maintain what it's done these last 3 weeks to some degree, like as long as our defense just makes some
stops
and get some turnovers.
Critical.
I think they can sneak in. Like I said, I don't expect them to be a 5th or 6th seed, but I think they could still get that 7.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, and another team that I think is, the 49ers has to be the best team to lose as many games as they have. It's amazing to me. The Cardinals, I got to, eat a little crow here in that Kyler Murray had his moments, man. He didn't have quite the Lamar moment, but he had a couple of moments where he was just quick and people were grabbing for thin air.
I'd like to bring to order the Kyler Murray fan club led by Luggs, its chairman. Luggs, check in with us. Go ahead.
Well, I would say the outcome would have been different had they had Christian McCaffrey. But, you play with who you have. Everybody's hurt at this point.
True. Already, I think you're right.
You got to play with who you have. But they're 0-2 in the NFC West at this point. So it's like that's an open division right there. Seattle just lost. So it could go anywhere. But I got to say, Kyle Shanahan, I do have faith in that coach. But if he doesn't have the horses to run at a certain point, you just got to say, wow, and let it go.
Yeah. T-Dog, give me your next big game. What do you got?
I was just going to say just real quick before I go to the next game, the Arizona Cardinals San Francisco game was wild, and at halftime San Francisco led 23-10, and they didn't score a point in the second half, mainly because they had drives where early on in the third quarter there was an interception for Purdy that led to a field goal, and then they went for it on downs and they weren't able to convert, and then on the very next drive Cardinals scored a touchdown. And then the very next drive, the 49ers fumbled the ball, and that's when the Cardinals kicked a field goal. So from right there, they made up the 14-point difference to take the lead. And then Purdy threw an interception in the game, which was a great play call by the defense for Gannon. But just the whole second half, if with how the 49ers played in the first half, like what could go wrong? Essentially every drive in the second half went wrong. And to be fair to Luggs' point, for them to lose that game. But it happened. So, again, I'm not worried about the 49ers, kind of definitely to a lesser extent than I am about the Bengals. I still feel they have enough talent that they're going to be in the mix. Are they going to win the division? At 2-3, I don't know. But, they have the history and the track record. And I think even with some of the mistakes that Purdy definitely did make in this game, I just seen too many plays this year where I think Purdy has elevated and become a better quarterback that I'm not ruling them out. The next game I want to talk about, just real quickly, is the Bears Panthers game. In that, again, I put a disclaimer on this. They're playing the Carolina Panthers, and that they're missing their best defensive players in terms of Derek Brown and Shaq Thomas, and their starting corner. But Caleb Williams in this offense is getting more comfortable in these last 2 weeks. The design on the first touchdown was great in that Allen rubbed the defender on DJ Moore, so he was wide open so that he could get the ball in wide open space and then just run upfield and get a touchdown. And then Swift's 42-yard pass screen that led to his touchdown run was executed well with the offensive line. And then the second TD pass to Moore was a post route where he just put exceptional touch on the ball where only DJ Moore could get it with, I think, only like 15 or 20 seconds left in the half. And the other guy I just want to give a shout-out to on the Bears is entering the season, one of the big concerns besides their O-line was their pass rush. Their second-year player, Javon Dexter, through 5 games, he already has 4 sacks.
Yeah.
So again, I still feel – J-Boy probably feels the same way. I don't think the Bears are a playoff team, but at least these last 2 weeks have been – steps in the right direction where maybe next year they'll be in contention for anything. But I just think the NFC North is just too robust for them to get in. But I'm just saying I'm happy to see those positive steps.
A glimpse of the future, perhaps, is what you're saying.
Yes.
Great. Lugs, what other highlights did you have in your mind? Then we'll get a little sportsy yesteryear after that.
Well, I was just looking at it, actually. The Jacksonville team finally won a game against the Indianapolis Colts. I got to say, Indianapolis seems just – it's hard to figure this team. I mean, they've got some players.
Joe Flacco, baby. Yeah.
Well, he looked awful flat in this time.
Flatto.
I mean, he was
what?
He was averaging like 5 yards a throw. I mean, it was not pretty. And Jacksonville, they're not pretty either. But I did in the past. I've lambasted Trevor Lawrence for looking like he wasn't involved in the game on the sidelines and stuff. But he did show up 371 yards passing, 2 TDs. So that was one of those games where it was like, let's watch a little bit of this, and it was a lot of what kind of reaction.
See, I got takeaways for both teams on this. I don't know what Joe Flacco game he watched. He averaged 8.2 yards per pass attempt.
He looks good for 39 years old, I think.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
He threw 359 yards, 3 TDs. He even had 22 yards rushing at his age.
Yeah, you go, Joe.
Impressive. So I'm saying,
you go, man.
That's why I think, and again, can he stay healthy long term? That I don't know. But my main thing is this. I know that they're going to go back to Richardson whenever he's fully healthy.
Yeah.
And I know he has the potential to be good. But here's my main thing. Chris Ballard has been their GM for a long time, and he has not got them to the playoffs.
True.
Joe Flacco in these last 2 games has played exceptionally well. When he came in for injured Anthony Richardson and how he played in this game.
I got to say, now I have to call you a little bit. Flacco didn't play well until the 4th quarter and those 2 late touchdown drives. Other than that, it was pretty flat for me. But go ahead.
Well, he had him on the doorstep of winning. I mean, it's not
knocking on the door, baby.
And just on the other side, even though they're 1-4 like the Bengals, I think elements of their defense are so broken. And also, even though Trevor Lawrence played well in this game, this is the first game he's kind of had a pulse against a Colts team that for the most part this year has not done a whole hell of a lot. But I do think they have possibly an identity if they're willing to go with it that maybe they can maybe sneak in if everything kind of lines up right is Tank Bigsby from Auburn. Off 13 carries, he had 100 yards rushing, 2 TDs, 28 yards receiving, and he just through 5 games he's just shown more power and burst than Travis Etienne. And I just think his running will open up passing lanes where it just feels like a lot of the passing plays for the Jags are just so unnecessarily difficult for Lawrence, where just they don't set up things well. And then I just want to give another shout out to a defensive player, Trayvon Walker. He's in year 3. He had 10 sacks last year. He had 5. He already has 5 this year, and he had 3 against the Colts. So to be fair to Luggs' point, like Trayvon Walker was a big reason why Joe Flacco maybe at times stalled out. Is just it could not stop Trayvon Walker, who was the number 1 pick and has been overshadowed by Hutchinson, but it's not like Hutchinson has completely eclipsed what Trayvon Walker is. Trayvon Walker is developing into a very special pass rusher.
Outstanding.
I'm going to have a hot take now.
No, right. The floor is yours, boy. Floor is yours.
Anthony Richardson. I don't think he'll ever complete a season. It's sad.
Hot take,
He's a physical specimen, but he just can't seem to stay on the field. And you know, part of your job is to be able to be out there doing what you're being paid to do. And thus far, sadly, he hasn't been able to. Now, I don't want to lambast a man for getting injured like that, but, you know, it's one of those things. It's like, you got to be on the field, dude. You got to be. So
you can't win if you don't play.
So I just want to spin this real quick. So does the situation that's happened these last 2 seasons with Anthony Richardson giving you more respect for like Cam Newton and Josh Allen? That again, you're talking about guys who are around his size and do some of his running styles, and just for the most part, I mean, you know, I know to the tail end, Cam Newton started missing some games, but like he was an Iron Man for a lot of it, and Josh Allen too hasn't really missed a whole lot. So,
excellent point.
No, you've got to be impressed by those guys, Cam Newton especially, because at the end there, the NFL, I'm going to get in a little conspiracy theory here, but they were allowing people to hit Cam Newton out of bounds and not calling it. So it was like at a certain point they were just determined, we're going to beat this guy up because he was whatever mouthy or whatever he was. But yeah, and Josh Allen, man, gosh, I can't believe that the guy is still upright. I mean, the hits he's taken are just massive. I mean, at 50, that boy's going to be in a wheelchair. I mean, it's crazy.
Well, you know, his head hit the turf so hard this week, and a lot of people are still talking about it, and yet he stayed in the game, and he got cleared by the protocol. But that dang artificial turf, that's rough to watch. Those guys make those plays, and their heads slam back to the ground.
Yeah, it's a car wreck.
I'll agree with you. How devastating that hit looked. That he only missed one play.
Yep.
I don't know.
I don't either. I'm going conspiracy theory on that, Lugs, right there. How'd they let him get back in the game like that? You know, let's talk about his future and his life, not the next play. All right, hey, 28 minutes into this here program, Lugs, can you hit us with a little sports of yesteryear? And then I want to talk about Vanderbilt, and I want to talk about T-Dog's Hoosiers, some big stuff in college football too. So, Lugs, do you have the sports of yesteryear?
All right, yes, we do.
Go.
All right, 1916, Georgia Tech, coached by the John Heisman, defeats Cumberland 222-0.
What?
The most lopsided score in the history of U.S. college football. 1953, crazy man Bill Veeck tells St. Louis Browns stockholders he faces bankruptcy unless they drop their suit to block his move to Baltimore. They comply. 1973, Scotsman Jockey Stewart wins his 3rd Formula One World Drivers' Championship despite withdrawing from the season-ending U.S. Grand Prix at Watkins Glen. He still wins the title over Emerson Fittipaldi. 1984, sweetness. Walter Payton passes Jim Brown as NFL's career rushing leader. And finally, 2012, and a little bit of revenge, New Orleans quarterback Drew Brees breaks Johnny Unitas' NFL record for consecutive games with a TD pass. That's 48. When he connects with Devery Henderson in the Saints' win over San Diego, who passed on Drew Brees right there. That's it for this edition of Sports of Yesteryear.
Well, thank you, Lugs. That was a pretty good Scottish accent for Jackie Stewart that you threw at us there. Was that was pretty good?
I was going for, shaken, not stirred.
See, sometimes my Scottish comes off sounding German or something. I don't know. But, yeah, wow, good stuff. Sweetness, yeah, that takes us back, doesn't it, back in the day? Wow.
Oh, yeah.
All right, T-Dog, talk about your Hoosiers, baby. Let's have some fun with that. Wow, what is happening in Bloomington?
Well, it was a good win. I mean, I know the team they beat is now 2-3, so it's not like they beat a top tier team.
Still,
but again, they haven't won. To be fair to your point, they haven't won at Northwestern in a long time. So it was still, and it was tighter than what the final score was late. But they scored a touchdown, I believe, with less than 5 minutes to remain to put them up 17. But the main thing is Rourke is legitimate. I don't think he'll go to New York for the Heisman, but he's at least playing at a Heisman level for IU and to keep their dream alive of making the playoffs, which I don't think they'll make the playoffs because I just looking at parts of their slate down the road. But the main thing that is just fun to watch is this is a well-coached team that again, Northwestern played them kind of straight up for a half, but in the second half, you could tell Northwestern got worn down by Indiana. That's what Indiana's used to, is getting worn down in the second half.
It's true.
That's a big turning point, and that's been the key kind of focal point in a few games for IU this year. Is some teams have played them kind of straight up in the first half, and then they just slowly wear teams down with their offensive line and their running attack, where they deploy essentially 3 to 4, primarily 2, but 3 to 4 running backs to just kind of like hammer you. And like I said, Rourke has been amazing from Ohio, and a lot of the JMU guys like Surratt, their wide receiver, and Aiden Fisher, their linebacker, like all these guys have come up clutch. So it's just a really fun time. They got next week off, and then they have Nebraska at home. So I expect hopefully the stands will be pretty full for that game as they have a chance to go 7-0. And they were the first team to become bowl eligible on Saturday.
Amazing.
So, yeah.
Don Fisher, maybe, he's a friend of the show. Maybe we can hook up with him and get some tickets or something.
Yeah.
I listened to those guys, he and Buck. You can tell they've got a little pep in their step, too, because it's not just trying to put a good face on a bad product.
Best ever for Fisher's career, I'll bet, this season so far. Plus, they played in Northwestern. Okay, Lugs, have you seen that? They're in a temporary stadium for a couple of years because they're rebuilding their old one or building a new one.
Yeah,
and you can
go like a high school field.
Right, and you can go bass fishing off the third deck because it's right on Lake Michigan. You'd love it, man. You can it's literally, there's the beach. Hey, let's go fishing. They pass out fishing poles on the way up if you need one,
Yeah.
All right,
Cool.
Lugs, talk to me about your Alabama Crimson Tide. I know they're not your team, but, Nick Saban retires, steps away, and all of a sudden, what? They lose to Vanderbilt? What? Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
What?
Well, the main thing was Vanderbilt had the ball about twice as much as Alabama. If you keep Milroe off the field, they don't score any points.
Good point.
But Alabama still came close. I mean, it could have happened, but it was a weekend for it. I mean, think about it. Missouri lost, number 9 team loses to Texas A&M. Arkansas.
Yeah, beat Tennessee, right?
And that guy, I want to leave you. Is it his name? I want to leave you. The quarterback for Tennessee. So. That was a good game. I think, again, this week, to me, college football was more interesting than pro. for except for a couple of really close games, those overtime games for the NFL. So that was my takeaway.
Well, definitely in the Vanderbilt game, like coaches always usually look at a few things at the end of the game to kind of look at like how well they did. Alabama, they lost the turnover battle, -2. They had fumble loss and interception by Milroe both. And then on third down efficiency, look, they were good on third down efficiency. They were at 50%. Usually you're happy with 50%. The only problem is the Alabama was 50% on three out of 6 on third down, where Vanderbilt was 12 out of 18. So kind of the Lugs' point, they dominated play. They had the ball for 42 minutes. And again, if you look at the rushing, it was 21 rushes, I believe, by Alabama to 54 for Vanderbilt. So, and again, Vanderbilt wasn't really getting like big chunks with any of those runs, but it doesn't matter if you're controlling the clock. And credit to them snagging portal transfer Diego Pavi, 16 for 20 for 252 yards, 2 touchdowns, and again, usually when these situations like Alabama plays really bad or a higher ranked team plays really bad, but Vanderbilt led at the beginning and never looked back, and they consistently controlled this game. So this was not a fluky win by Vanderbilt. I just want to give them credit where they deserve. And hopefully people don't call for DeBoer's. It's a long season. I think Alabama will still be in the playoffs. I think people need to calm down. I'm not saying there shouldn't be reasons for concern, definitely on defense. But maybe Lugs will remember Nick Saban in year 1 with Alabama, albeit he was taking over more of a rebuild than DeBoer's is. But, they had a fluky loss to someone year 1, correct? Lugs, do you remember?
I don't right off.
They do. I forget who it was. So, again, I don't think DeBoer is ever going to be as good as Nick Saban is. And also, Nick Saban kind of left, I think, to some degree, obviously because he's older in life, but also he saw the transfer portal kind of like what Lugs was getting at. I think we maybe misconstrued, and maybe it will change down the road, but at least these early years of the transfer portal, it's actually spread the talent out. So I don't know if there's going to be these still probably the teams that are going to win are the teams we've always known, but those teams aren't going to be as thoroughly dominant as they were in years past, is what I would say.
All right.
Yeah, I would simply say that DeVore, had Saban been on that sideline at halftime, there would have been people walking out of there with bloody noses and stuff. He would just beat the hell out of some people. I think DeVore, he's going to have to, get out the brass knuckles and say, fellas, let's get this done.
Well, we need to beat the hell out of this episode of Sports and Other Stuff. We're out of time. The old clock on the wall is saying shut it down. So let's bring to a close. Brought to you in part by the second week in a row, Hank's Auto Body, home of their exclusive dust-proof spray booth. If you got a dent or it's just plain bent, come on into Hank's and ask for our guy. He's there tonight. His name is
Fish. And this time around, we're honoring Arnold Schwarzenegger becoming the governor. That's the governor of California. This Saturday at 1 p.m., the Fishinator will host all things Arnold, from bodybuilding Austrian to Conan the Barbarian, and finally the Terminator. Fish will take an in-depth look at the action star's rise to fame with trivia contests topped by Fish's favorite Arnold movies, Predator and the first Terminator. Mission is $20 with lots of Wiener Schnitzel and beer to get into the Oktoberfest spirit. Come on down.
Is this where we're supposed to say, I'll be back? Is that where we say
I
that?
will.
It's not a tumor.
All right, thanks for listening to this edition of Sports and Other Stuff. T-Dog, do that one more time for the close. So long, everybody.
It's not a tumor.
So long, everybody. Bye-bye.